Youngin is a young woman working in a factory building radios. She believes herself to be a cyborg and hears voices telling her what to do. It tells her to cut her wrists and connect wires to it, holding them in place with electrical tape. She plugs in as the voice tells her to, knocking her back off her chair. Youngin has been placed in a mental facility as everyone thinks she was trying to end her life. It looks like she's not the only loony in this bin though. She's being shown around by a woman we think is a nurse. However, an actual doctor comes and tells her she can't be taking other patients around like this. A young man named Park playing table tennis notices Youngin and becomes transfixed on her. Two doctors talk as we learn Youngin won't talk or eat, and her grandmother was a schizophrenic who thought she was a mouse. Youngin leaves her bed wandering the hallway. She stares up at a light and for some reason she's wearing her grandmother's dentures. She talks to electronics and asks some lights how long they've known they were lights. Youngin talks to a clock telling it she was only trying to charge up at the factory. She's almost out of power as we see her toes running on empty. Another patient is helping her with her food by eating it for her so they don't think she isn't eating. Youngin instead pulls some batteries out of her bag, licking them and trying to use them in any fashion to charge. The patients are at some kind of group therapy and each one of them starts blaming Park for stealing things from them, like food, their pajamas, or their ability to walk backwards. Youngin is listening to Park telling a doctor his mother left because of him. Then he goes on to say he stole Thursday. Youngin asks herself, how can someone steal a Thursday? Turns out he stole Youngin's Thursday underwear. She tells a vending machine she needs to find out more about this thief. Park turns around to find Youngin following him. He turns and bunny hops after her. Park finds her trying to hide in a clock and calls her a psycho. She says she's a cyborg, not a psycho. Her radio talks to her at night and asks her why she hasn't killed the doctors yet, the ones that took her granny away. Youngin finds Park filling a kettle with water and she asks if he can steal her sympathy so she can kill the doctors and nurses. He tells her if she keeps asking him to steal something, that's giving, that's not stealing. Park stalks her intending to steal, while Youngin runs around shaking hands and hating every second of it. Youngin is charging and Park sneaks up, stealing her dentures. He puts in the dentures trying to talk to the vending machine and lights, but he's not a cyborg. Youngin is freaking out, running around asking if the electronics have seen her dentures. Another group therapy session and they're sharing things that have parted them. Park's mother left, taking all the electronic toothbrushes, so now he's a thief, for some reason. Youngin catches Park as he goes to reach in her bag. She sees the dentures and, well, she attacks him. Park is filling his kettle again and hears Youngin. He finds her in some kind of boiler room, crying as her radio told her her grandmother is in critical condition and needs her dentures. She needs Park to steal her sympathy so she can kill the doctors, or white-ins as she calls them. He's trying, but she has to not want it stolen for it to work apparently. She smacks him around saying she hates it and she doesn't want it stolen, and then Park steals her sympathy. She has now gone into full-on kill mode, kinda like the Terminator. Youngin unloads on all the doctors with her finger guns. However, it's all in her head and she passes out as she hasn't been eating. A doctor is on the phone speaking to Youngin's mother, telling her they may have to try shock therapy to get her to eat. Her mother doesn't really seem to care, she just wants her daughter to eat something. Youngin sees visions of her grandmother and tells her she'll become merciless soon. She'll get her dentures and kill them all. Her toes glow, meaning that she's finally fully charged. A doctor is wheeling her out, asking her what she remembers, and Youngin appears to remember everything. Then she goes back into kill mode and starts mowing everyone down again with her finger guns. Just walking around and unloading on every doctor and nurse that comes across her path. Well, in actuality, she's just locked up in an isolation room until she starts eating. Park and some of the other patients have gone on a hunger strike until Youngin is released. The doctor tells them if she doesn't eat in the next 3 days, she's gonna die. Thus ending the hunger strike for everyone, well except for Park. They're feeding Youngin through a tube in her nose. A doctor tries to tell her how much better it is to eat normally, but clearly the goop that she's eating is pretty disgusting. Park barges in like a lunatic, telling him she has the right not to eat, and that the vending machine says hi. Park gets tossed into his own isolation room until he calms down a bit. They start communicating with 2 cups on a string. Park hands her some socks that will help her float when she rubs them together. Then he begins to yodel to help make her shrink. They were on some serious drugs when they wrote this. Youngin sees her grandmother attached to a long elastic band and flies over to her. Literally. Her grandmother is about to tell her about the purpose of her existence, but is flung back out into the sky because of the band. Youngin's mother visits and tells her grandmother has passed and was cremated. She brought Youngin a spoonful of the ashes in a little baggie. Youngin buries her grandmother's ashes and dentures, but has second thoughts about the dentures and puts them back in her mouth. Park comes up behind her and holds her shoulders, comforting her. Youngin's head turns around exorcist style and she starts hovering off the ground so they can smooch. She passes out and ends up back in her room. Park brings her a device that will convert rice when she eats it into electrical energy that will help charge her cells. He pretends to open a door on her back and install the device so she can eat the rice. They're sitting down to eat and Park is giving her instructions on what to do. The entire room is watching and following the instructions, but she fails and runs off. Youngin is afraid the device won't work or will break down, but Park assures her he's a technician and can fix it. He finally gets her to eat and her toes light up fully charged. Youngin is with a doctor having a bit of a mental breakdown over her grandmother and tells the doctor her deep dark secret. She's a cyborg. Youngin is back with Park and they're putting together what her grandmother was trying to tell her purpose is in those visions she's been having. They believe she's a nuke that needs 9 billion volts to end the world. So of course these two lunatics head out in a storm so they can get hit by lightning. She holds onto a metal pole waiting for lightning to strike and end everything. Unfortunately nothing ends up happening, but they give each other that look. The next morning there's a nice sunrise and rainbow, and well, they're getting busy as the film comes to an end. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you'd like more, please like the video and subscribe as it would really help me out. Thank you for watching everyone and take care.